Hi everyone, I hope everyone's having a great week so far, and thank you for joining in and listening to this week's discussion. So, I'm going to discuss Nelly Korda today, and obviously, Nelly has had a fantastic season so far, 5 wins in a row, which is unbelievable. I can't remember the last person that won 5 in a row, but any of you massive golf geeks out there, you might know. And obviously, Nelly didn't do so well at the last week's major, though in saying that, she's been a huge force to be reckoned with of late. And well done to Sasso, who has a awesome swing as well. Reminds me a lot of Rory when I was watching it, and I think she's been compared to Rory in the past too. So I'm just going to briefly break down a bit about what Nelly does really well, in my opinion. We'll break down some of her training, and from there you can make hopefully some correlations with your game and get some insights out of that. So let's bring up her swing, and we're going to start with her posture. So with most elite players, you don't see them out of posture so much. So in a lot of weekend golfers or even people that are starting off, you typically see a big arch through the lower back where my cursor is going there. As you can see with Nelly, between her hips and her upper back, it's almost a continuous line. So maybe some slight rounding of the upper back, but it's near perfect. So with a lot of these players that have great swings, posture is absolutely fundamental. So when we're looking at Nelly here, when we're thinking about on the male circuit, Adam Scott is another great example, has a fantastic swing. Rory McIlroy. There's not many of these players that have poor posture nowadays. The players that typically do will have some sort of ailment. So when I'm thinking of back pain, for example, Keegan Bradley, he's quite reached out. Nick Watney, who used to play in the male circuit, also had back surgery in the past because it just affects how the spine moves and loads. So that's the most important thing to start off with. Also, in terms of posture, what I really like to see is a continuous line between the armpit here and the forefoot. So as I'm drawing the cursor down here, you can see how Nelly has a continuous line between, again, the armpit and her forefoot there. So it's almost like you're having the pressure through that part of the foot. I find if the pressure is going into the heel or into the toe, you're going to make adjustments. So typically, if your pressure is in the heels, you might want to hang back. When they're on the toes, the club tries to pull you towards the ball, which can cause things such as early extension. Brings in the shanks as well because you start dragging the hosel closer to the ball. So in terms of posture, I think that's fantastic to start off with. So let's start rolling with her swing here. So in this position here, I'm just going to pause it. So the first thing I'm really noticing with Nelly is how connected she is. So obviously she's wearing a hoodie here, but there's great connection between her arm and her torso. So in this position, if we go back to where we started here, from setup to lead arm parallel, it's essentially just a body rotation. So I guess with Nelly, she's very, very well mechanically set up to start with. Again, if we take this back slowly, you can see it's just her chest rotating and the arm staying well connected. And then from there, the club is going to hinge up naturally. There's no rip on the inside. There's no big shift to the outside of the plane. It's really well just a body rotation. And from there, as we continue to take this up to the backswing or the top of the backswing, pardon me, let's stop here. You can see how well she's loading into this trail hip. So we're getting some nice straightening of that trail leg, which is a good sign that she's putting load into that hip. Also from face on here, you can see how there's no sway. So where she started, her hip is basically pushing back into that glute. So she's starting to load her glute medius muscle, her glute max. She's starting to put some pressure into that heel, which you can use for force on the way down. So I think that's a fantastic position. Again, if we're paying attention to her upper back, she's got a nice rotation, easily 90 degrees of rotation there. So she's really giving herself a good chance to create speed, create power, and also doing this in a really safe manner. So let's now play it through. So let's get to this position here. So club is parallel in this picture. Let's maybe roll it a frame forward. Here we go. So what we're starting to see here from that club being parallel on the transition down, we can see with her left hip, she's starting to open. So from the top of the swing, she's sequencing up her body really well. There's not a big pull down with the arms. So let's let this roll through. As you can see here, she starts to transition with the lower body. So again, the arms are quite passive in this position, and the body is starting to initiate that rotation. So again, she's getting really good hip internal rotation. She's starting to clear the body to create speed and space. And you can see how she's not spinning out of it. Her chest is nicely on top of the golf ball, so she's not getting stuck beneath the plane either. So I think that's a really strong position to be into. Her club face is slightly closed as well, which is common for most good ball strikers. So that's a really great position for her to be in. Let's roll it to impact here. So I might go back a frame. So let's go into this position. What we're seeing here, so again, we can see that left hip really opening back. We're seeing her glutes pulling out of the way. No sign of early extension there. The chest is starting to open nicely. And also what I like to see in Nelly's position here is this lead leg is straightening. And what we can also tell is that this foot is starting to come off the ground. That's her left foot. So that's a good sign that she's really pushing hard into the ground to create ground reaction force and vertical force. And obviously from there, she can start hitting it a long way. And also, in terms of consistency, because she's really well loading that leg, there's not much of a slide, which is going to potentially change your low point. So just a really consistent move. We'll play it through to the finish here. I might go back a frame. You can see how that club shaft starts exiting below that shoulder line, which is a great position to be into. It's a good sign that she's covering the ball. She's staying, I guess, consistent through the impact zone. Sometimes newer golfers or people that are struggling with their ball striking, that shaft might start to exit higher from the shoulder. So that's a great sign of good body rotation and control through that impact zone. Then we're going to play it through at the end here. Great balance, and it just looks really easy, right? So I think it's key to note that not everyone can swing it like Nelly, and I should probably say very few people can swing it like Nelly. It looks fluid, it looks just athletic is a great term for it. And I guess that's the reason she's won probably 5 times in a row, right? You combine good ball striking and a good short game, then you're going to win a lot of events. So let's now jump across to her training. And also shout out to Slow Mo Golf Swings, the YouTube channel. So that's where that video comes from. So I'm just going to roll this through. I'll turn the volume off. I'm going to look at her training. So what we're seeing here is a combination of different movements. She's done her cardio, obviously. She's doing a number of strength workouts. She's got some plyometrics. She's got some single leg stability there. And then she's capping it off. So what I'd like to note about Nelly's workouts here is Nelly is very lean. She's not bulky, very athletic. So doing weight training isn't going to necessarily bulk you up. That's obviously got a lot to do with your genetics. It's got a lot to do with what you're eating away from the golf course. So your training itself isn't going to affect your physique fully. Obviously it has a part to do with it, but the fact that Nelly's doing a lot of these strength movements and power movements and plyometric movements it's not going to fully affect how she looks. So I think it's a great takeaway for a lot of the female listeners and even the male listeners that it's essential for your golf performance. And then we're going to pop across to my video with Nelly here. So this is something I made a little while ago, and a lot of people engaged with this. So I hope you enjoy it as well. Hopefully it lets me play it. Here we go. So as you can see here again, Nelly's got a lot of strength movements in here, plyometrics. She's doing squats, deadlifts, rows, presses. So again, in terms of elite performance, these are some exercises that you need to consider in the long term. We're trying to work towards getting stronger, getting more powerful, and using the body and the ground to the best of our potential. So that's all I wanted to jump on today and mention about Nelly. She's a fantastic competitor, seems like a really nice person as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any more questions about that, please let me know in the chat. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend with lots of golf mixed in. All right, I'll speak to you soon.